Good evening and welcome to the Burton home once again for our Wednesday night group. We're going to be going over tonight Matthew 14, chapter 14, verses 22 through 33. And our study has been on walking with Jesus. And these times that we're going through right now, they are challenging times, but they're also very exciting times. Challenging is obvious. It's the pandemic that we're all dealing with, being isolated from one another, and certainly we would rather be with you at the church instead of over the airways like we are coming to you, but we make the best of the time. But it's also very exciting times, and that is because our faith grows the most in the challenging times. And so we have this opportunity right now to make the best of what we all have to deal with right now, and that is going through this challenge. And the exciting thing about it is God gives us a couple promises. One, that all things happen for the good to those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. So we can hold on to that. And he tells us in the book of John that he warns us, Satan comes to rob and to kill and destroy. That's what he's trying to do to each one of us. But he says that he has come, Jesus has come to give us life, and that more abundantly. And that's the exciting thing that we can hold on to, knowing that Jesus is our advocate. He is the one before the Father, and he's saying, these are the ones that are walking with me, and he wants to take care of us and watch over us. And so with that, Catherine's going to go ahead and read the passage for us tonight.
Again, we're Matthew chapter 14, starting at verse 22. Then he made the disciples get into the boat and go before him to the other side, while he dismissed the crowds. And after he had dismissed the crowds, he went up to the mountain by himself to pray. When evening came, he was there alone, but the boat by this time was many furlongs distant from the land, beaten by the waves, for the wind was against them. And in the fourth watch of the night, he came to them, walking on the sea. But when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified, saying, "It is a ghost." And they cried out for fear. But immediately he spoke to them, saying, "Take heart, it is I. Have no fear." And Peter answered him, "Lord, if it is you, bid me come to you on the water." He said, "Come." So Peter got out of the boat and walked on the water and came to Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried out, "Lord, save me." Jesus immediately reached out his hand and caught him, saying to him, "O man of little faith, why did you doubt?"
33.
And when they got into the boat, the wind ceased, and those in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God."
So we see a couple things in the passage that deal with where we're at right now, and I hope that it does help. In verse 22, it says Jesus sent him away, told him to get into the boat and go ahead across before him. And so they were sent out alone. And no doubt they were isolated, and that's something that we can all absolutely understand, that feeling right now of isolation, because that's where we're all at right now. But Jesus himself in 23 says he went up to pray. And I think that there was a couple reasons that he did this. One, he was letting them get out before him. He knew what it was going to be. It was going to be a challenging time. It was going to be a time where they could have the opportunity to express their faith in him and to learn something about Jesus and how much he loved them. But he went up to pray also because he had been with the crowds and he needed to be restored again. He needed to be strengthened. And so that's something that while we're in this isolation, we can look at that and Jesus's pattern. We need to be strengthened right now. We need to be strong in our faith because we're going through the challenge, just like the disciples, just like what he has sent them to out into the sea to do, going before them or going before him. But in 24, it said that they were out to sea and it was buffeted by the waves. Have you ever been on a lake or in a boat? Some of you, I'm sure, have been out in a canoe or a kayak or some kind of a boat rowing and trying to go against the wind. And it, as hard as you struggle, it still can push you backwards. I remember a time, not in a boat, but on a ski slope. When my son Skylar was very young, he was 3 years old, we were out in the Midwest, and out in the Midwest there's not a lot of trees, and so we took him. I wanted him to learn to ski. And so coming down the slopes, the wind was not buffeted at all. And so I would grab hold of Skylar, and I would have him between my legs, and I would be over top of him, and I would be steering him down the slope. And once I knew that he got everything ready and applying what I was teaching him, I would give him a little push and let him go down the slope by himself. The problem was the wind was stronger than he was. And he would go about 10 feet in front of me, and the wind was so strong it would not only stop him, but it would blow Skylar back into my arms. And I would get him again and take it on down and give him a push again. And, it was a challenging day for him because the winds were blowing 30, 40 miles an hour with the gusts. But the point is, in the midst of that, Jesus is just like what I was doing with Skylar. What he wants us to understand right now is he's stronger than the wind. He is stronger than the waves. He's stronger than anything that comes against us. And he's there at our back. And he is pushing us on ahead, saying, you got this. And as these hard things hit us, and they are, lack of work for some of us, lack of money, children being home when they would be in daycare or in school, this has completely changed our life. But Jesus is right there, and as he pushes us away and says, go, the wind may beat us back a little bit, but be confident of this. Jesus is right behind us to steer us, to guide us. And he said, I'll never leave you nor forsake you. And so going on, verse 26, Jesus shows up at the boat, and they were terrified, it said. They were alone. The winds and the waves were against them. They were at their wits' end. They didn't know what to do. And, can you relate to that right now? Of course you can. We all can. Because there's only so much we can do. This pandemic has our country, not only country, it is trying to just freeze the world and stop all of the going on. Satan just trying to destroy at this time as much as he can. But as Christians, we know that that's what he does, but our Father brings restoration. And that's what our Father does. And so as they were afraid and they cried out, Jesus spoke back and he said this very, very specifically. Take heart. Have no fear. Have no fear. And then in one of the other interpretations, it says, take courage. Don't be afraid. And that's the message for you and I tonight. Take heart. Have no fear. Take courage. Don't be afraid. And then it goes on, and Peter says, Lord, if that's you, tell me to get out of the boat and come to you. And I want to focus on Peter's boldness. In the midst of this trial, Peter was bold enough to say, call me. I want to come to you. And he climbed out of the boat. And we know what happened. He was out for a little bit. He got scared and he started to sink. But I don't want to focus on that. I want to focus on the two things. He had the boldness to climb out of the boat. That's number one. And when he started to sink, he cried out to Jesus, and it said Jesus reached out, grabbed his hand and took him back to the boat and put him back in the boat. And Peter, when all was said and done in this, Peter had this to say: truly, you are the Son of God. And that's the message that we want to convey tonight, that Jesus is truly the Son of God. And during this time, he's got us. He's at our back. He's pushing us a little, to go ahead, to have courage, to take heart. And we may stumble, we may sink, but our Father is our advocate, and our Father is at our back, and he's the one that will bring us victory in the end. And I've asked Catherine just to say something in closing.
Yeah, I just want to say definitely that we do miss you. We do miss our time together. This, I think, is teaching all of us never to take fellowship and time together for granted. We just want to say our hearts are with you. We've prayed for you, many of you. We've prayed for you by name that are in our small group on Wednesday nights, and you're in our hearts, definitely. I just want to leave you with, what a great message of being assured that God's got us, and to let that just bring peace to your heart. I think about Scripture says, he will keep you in perfect peace whose mind is made steadfast because he trusts in me. And that's what you need to do. Be mindful of what the Scripture's saying. Be mindful of those promises that God's given you. Be mindful of the things that he promises you. My peace I leave to you, he says. So take those things in. Let that help your mind be steadfast and sure in those promises when things are so unpredictable right now. So we pray that you go in peace and in courage, and that when the wind is pushing you back, then just remember your Father's behind you, and he's not going to let you sink.
Good night.
Have a great evening.